Hey guys. So, I was messing around in my kitchen and I logged on to show you guys what I'm doing. I have Amanita Velosa, which is a beautiful mycorrhizal mushroom that grows here in the spring in Napa. And I have this elfin saddle, a Helvella dryophylla too. I'm going to show you guys quickly how to ID these mushrooms, some of the features, and then I'm going to go ahead and cut up this Velosa and start cooking it because it's one of my favorite edibles. Oh, hey Sage, how you doing? So normally I do this kind of late night cookery stuff on TikTok, but I just got banned from TikTok because I was showing you guys showing them these exact mushrooms, and TikTok is full of literal children, and they reported my video. So instead, I came to Instagram, where I know my real mush friends are, and I'm going to show you guys these mushrooms and how to ID them and how to cook them. And I would ask to, please not report my live stream because I'm really sick of getting kicked off TikTok. It's super lame. It's a bunch of kids who know nothing and they're just mycophobic, and it's super frustrating. And then TikTok, makes it worse by gaslighting me and banning me, and they won't answer my emails, they won't talk to me. So if someone from TikTok is out there, you guys are a piece of work. That's all I gotta say. Anyhow, so like I said, this is Amanita Velosa. I get asked a lot what my favorite mushroom is, and this is it. You're looking at it. At least my favorite edible mushroom. So Amanita Velosa is maybe controversial as a mushroom, let's say, because it has toxic lookalikes. And so I'm honestly self-conscious to even say that this is my favorite edible mushroom, and I've been cautioned by many people to not even share that it's my favorite mushroom because it does have toxic lookalikes. But instead of fearing what we don't know and rejecting what we don't know, I am going to try to teach you guys how to ID this mushroom, or at least some of the features of it, so you can at least start to recognize it, identify it, and see it for what it is, which is what I did, before you get up the nerve to eat it. Because eating amanitas is scary. There are toxic amanitas that if you get your ID wrong, you can kill yourself or at least cause some really severe and permanent organ damage. So amanitas are mycorrhizal mushrooms. These grow in association with live oaks here in Napa. So I find these under live oak at a particular park. And they are really, really beautiful and apricot colored. And so they kind of just jump right out at you. And you know what, guys, we can't talk about psychedelic mushrooms. We can't talk about magic mushrooms. So please don't ask. It's super rude and it takes away from the discussion I'm trying to have with people that want to learn about this stuff. So let's not talk about psilocybin. Let's not talk about magic mushrooms. Let's talk about these mushrooms. These are Amanita Velosa, and they're awesome. If you do want to learn about magic mushrooms, there's nothing wrong with it. Just not what my channel is about. Go to shroomery.org or just Google it. There's so many good resources out there. So these are Amanita Velosa. They have these beautiful kind of apricot colored caps, and it doesn't show up super well on film, but they're sort of a light pinkish orange, salmon-y, apricot-y, somewhere in that range. So these come up really anywhere from almost December or January, but usually February through almost May, depending on the weather. So they have a very long fruiting season. They are big. Well, they're not always big, but they're beautiful, solid mushrooms. They usually start the season fairly large. As the season goes on, their fruitings get smaller and smaller. Usually they start around the base of a live oak, so sort of pretty close to the base of the tree, and as the season goes on, they run out, usually almost in big lines, out from the tree, and you'll see them in the drip line of the tree and then moving out into the grass beyond the tree. Oh, Lord. Oh, thank you, Sage. I appreciate that. Okay, so let's see, what are other features of this mushroom? So like I was saying, amanitas are kind of scary because there's toxic lookalikes. And the toxic lookalike to this mushroom is Amanita ocreata, which is the western destroying angel. There's also Amanita phalloides, but that has sort of a greener top. Ochreata has really a white top, but it stains kind of ochre, which bits of stained ochre can sort of look like this apricot color. And if you see them side by side, they really do look different. But it's easy to make a mistake if you're unexperienced. But one of the most robust features of these edible Amanitas in general, not just Velosa, but all edible Amanitas, is these striations that I'm showing you along the edge of the cap. So these little sort of, you can see the gills on any mushroom, but particularly on these Amanitas, you see these striations on the edge of the cap. And those striations will be visible even when the mushroom is fairly young and underdeveloped. You'll still see those striations there. So Ochreata and Phloides do not have those striations. So these are often missing that little partial veil, but that's not really a good, robust ID feature for this species. So you can see there's a little bit of a veil there, but it's not a big one. Not a big drapey one like the Ochreata or the Phloides has. The Amanita vernicocora, the spring cocora, I was just finding a couple of those the other day. Those do have a big veil that hangs down. And those look even more like Ochreata. I think Velosa looks pretty distinct from Ochreata most of the time. And then these also have a hollow stipe. So I've done videos on this, I know, but I'm just showing you guys in real time. So the stipe, which is the stem, right, cap, stem, this is also called the stipe. Stipe of these edible Amanitas is always hollow. You can stick your finger in it. And so this is in common with like the cocora. This is in common with the vernicocora, in common with the Caesar's Amanita, the grisettes, all these edible, I think it's section vaginate or something like that, are edible Amanitas. So I'm going to just fry these up in a pan pretty simply, but one thing I may pay attention to is that the stems have different texture and flavor than the caps. So the stems have this a little grassy, a little mushroomy, pretty mild and sort of texture like calamari, where the caps are really, really soft, but really, really sweet and super delicious. And like I said, Amanita Velosa is pretty much my favorite edible mushroom, which I'm really excited about because I find a lot of it here in Napa. The other thing I've been finding a lot of recently is this elephant saddle. And I'm going to maybe I'll do a post about this tomorrow, or at least sometime this week. These Ascomycetes are super funky and weird looking. This is sort of a kind of false morel. And elephant saddles they're called elephant saddles because often they'll have sort of a bowed appearance in the middle. It looks like a little saddle. Not so much with the species. The species, you get these like crazy little invaginations all over the place and just alien looking stems. I'm pretty sure as soon as I showed this on TikTok, I got banned because people saw this and immediately thought death or drugs. And like, no, it's just a mushroom. It's an Ascomycete. I'm sure if I showed a Morchella or a Morel, it would get banned for that as well because people are just mycophobic. And there's a lot of trypophobic people, which is a phobia, I guess, but it's not a phobia that I feel compelled to like try to be super sensitive to. People are always like, you have to put a trigger warning on, and I'm like, bro, you're just scared of looking at nature. Like just because someone has not seen enough nature in their life and they're triggered and scared of everything they see in nature isn't a reason to put trigger warnings on things. It's a reason that person needs to get outside and like experience more of the world, which is hard. I understand during COVID, you have a bunch of like 13-year-old children on TikTok who are very easily triggered, as everyone seems to be these days, and on all sides, triggering I don't think is necessarily the right response to anything. And believe me, I understand. I get defensive sometimes, but okay, so I'm gonna stop looking at the chat. I'm just gonna go ahead and cut up these mushrooms. Maybe I'll do a little bit of mushroom tapping before we get into it, right? People always like the mushroom taps. This is what TikTok, before I started getting banned from all my TikToks, I was getting like hundreds of views per night of people just like watching me sit here and slap these mushrooms, especially the boletes. People got really, really into slapping boletes. And everyone was telling me this is like why I got banned, but no, this is definitely not why I got banned. I never got banned when I was slapping mushrooms. People are into that. I got banned, from showing stuff like this or showing like the holes of a bolete or, hopefully not the gills, but cool gills. It was always like trypophobia stuff that was getting me banned, not spanking mushrooms. Spanking mushrooms is fun. Woo! And okay, so I was explaining this. Oh, hey Bilal. Yeah, you saw me get banned off TikTok. So I'll explain this now because it happens all the frickin' time. People are like, why do you spank the mushroom? Why do you tap the mushroom? Well, it's a density thing at its core. Amanitas grow from little eggs, which I guess this is the most underdeveloped one. So they start as little eggs, and they're covered in this universal veil, so it's a little white thing underground. At that point, that little egg is a preformed mushroom, a predeterminate mushroom, and that mushroom has all of the mushroom cells that the adult or large mature mushroom will have, but at that point those cells are very small, so they're very, very dense. As that mushroom starts to grow, it expands out of the egg, leaving behind a vulva behind, which is this sort of like sac-like thing that sits in the dirt, and I pulled these out of their vulva. That's V-O-L, vulva, yeah, whatever. It's not spelled like vulva, different body part. Jules Amanita did a great video differentiating the two the other day. Anyhow, so these grew out, the cells are expanding, and the mushroom's getting bigger. This mushroom's still pretty small. In fact, you can see the ring, the partial veil here, where it was covering the gills, and now that the gills are starting to expand. Even since I picked this, it's starting to expand because Amanitas continue to mature even after they've been picked. So at this point, this is a pretty young mushroom. It's got this white veil on top, this cottony veil that's distinctive of these edible Amanitas. And this mushroom is quite dense. Hi, Tiger Paw. So these young mushrooms are very dense, and you can feel that. You can hear that. You know, this, I'll put it right beside the microphone, right? It's a very dense little mushroom. As we get a little bigger, the cells, I can feel this. The cell, it's not quite as dense, a little bit bigger, and it has a different cadence, a different noise. So, yeah, there you go. Spank the mushroom. And then we get, even bigger. The resonance of these mushrooms changes. It's a much deeper but less dense noise. It sounds almost hollow, and it is because the hollow stem is there. So people have suggested to me, and Bilal knows this one well, but that I start an Only Fungi, where I go on and just spank mushrooms. And I've thought about it. I'm just not sure I want that to be my thing. I'd really like to be like the Bill Nye of mushrooms, and I don't know if I need like a dirty secret of me like spanking mushrooms in secret on the internet. So instead, I'm not charging you any money for it, and I'm just doing it here for free on live, and you guys get to watch it. So I hope you appreciate that, because apparently TikTok does not appreciate that. So whatever. Cool. Okay, we've tapped our mushrooms. Make sure everybody gets a solid tap. Spank the mushroom. Yeah, you want a spank the mushroom t-shirt? I can do that. I just put some new t-shirt designs on my website the other day. If you guys haven't visited my website, I'd appreciate it. I put a lot of work into like putting merch on there and writing a bunch of answers. I have an FAQ section where I've answered a lot of the basic mushroom questions that I get on a daily basis. I'm trying to give you guys what you want. Listening to people and learning from people, and evolving and trying to be the best educator I can be. It's a process, but I feel like we're getting there. Pretty cool. About to not too far away from 500,000 on TikTok. That's huge, and we're past 100K here on Instagram. It seems totally wild. I had no idea so many people be into mushrooms. The one I've had a lot of trouble growing on is YouTube, and I haven't totally figured out what kind of content to put on YouTube to really capture people's imaginations, but if you guys would go follow my YouTube, I would be very thankful. The one thing I'll say that YouTube has that other platforms don't really is they have the playlist function, and that allows you to sort my videos by the type of video you want to watch. So it's not just chronological, and so you don't just have to scroll through endless videos to try to find, I tell someone to go watch a particular video, especially my cooking videos, they can just go check out the cooking playlist. I do need to organize some of the YouTube videos because I have too many different videos under the mushrooms tab, because all my videos are about mushrooms. I need to differentiate some of the educational ones from some of the just the ones where I'm showing off and stuff. So I'm doing something special here, and I assume you guys can see what I'm doing. I am separating the caps and the stems. So this is something that I've seen my friend Damon Teig do, and he's also the one who convinced me originally that I could eat and enjoy Amanita Velosa. I mean, him and several other prominent mycophagists, mushroom eaters, told me that this is one of their favorites. And for a while I picked it and I wouldn't eat it. I would just pussyfoot around with it, and sometimes I even cooked it and like gave it away to other people. But once I got really, really confident in finding it and cooking it, I started eating it, and I absolutely love it. No, I'm not going to get spores. It's a mycorrhizal mushroom. These are really hard to cultivate, and I know where they are. They grow nearby, and they're phenomenal. So what I'm going to do is I will cut up the stems. I'll get those rocking. You know, I'm not gonna, I don't know. Sometimes I separate stuff, sometimes I don't. I don't know if I want to deal with like cooking 2 separate pans of stuff. I think I'll just throw everything in. But these Amanita stems have a texture not totally unlike calamari when you cook them. It's pretty cool. And they have the caps are distinctly sweeter. So the stems they're okay, but they're not like my favorite part of the mushroom. But they're solid. I certainly would eat them over, you know, I'd eat the stem of a Velosa over, you know, the best part of most other mushrooms. So I just cooked up a bunch of Vernicacora the other night, along with some more Velosa. And some of these have a little bit of bug damage, so I'll eat them. I don't worry that much about like very minimal bug damage on my mushrooms. You cook them, the bugs will cook out. They're just extra protein. You know, I used to be kind of squeamish when I first started. And the more mushrooms you eat, you can't tell whether or not there was bug damage by the time it all cooked up. It doesn't matter. It does not matter. Okay. Woo! Almost lost that mushroom, but we got it. We got it. We're good. We're good. Oh, yes. Velosa. Velosa is so crisp and delicate and incredible and salmon colored. I absolutely love this mushroom. A couple years ago I wrote like a whole poem to it. It was half ID, half just ode to Velosa. Because it's one of these mushrooms it's scared the crap out of me, because it has toxic lookalikes, and I like promised my partner I would never eat Amanitas when I started mushroom hunting, and here I am cutting up Amanitas. She still won't eat them. She doesn't feel comfortable eating them, and I'm like, well, I've eaten them a couple 100 times and I will keep eating them, but I understand that, you know, it is scary. The fear of the unknown, which is again why I think I got banned off TikTok. Fear of the unknown, ignorance, and it's frustrating. You know, I don't know how to change that. TikTok doesn't offer any tools to really provide feedback. You know, I tweeted at them and I sent like a report of the problem, but you know, usually when I've done that, I get back like a forum response, or they just are like, you know, it's always a non-response. It's like Bill Belichick would be very proud. These enemies got a little bit older, so a little tougher on top. So, yeah, this is a nice one, eh? Perfect little button top. So, I'm gonna toss these all in the pan, all good stuff. And I'll point you guys over here at the pan. Okay. Oh, I wish you guys could smell these. They smell so good. There's this delicate sort of grassy sweetness that comes out of them. And when I say sweetness, I mean that very literally. Like, they smell sweet. They taste sweet. Velosa is one of the best tasting mushrooms, I think, just straight up. It really doesn't need anything done to it other than a very simple saute and a little salt. And I put a little butter and sherry and thyme. But even like garlic or onion just detract from how sweet the mushroom naturally is. So you don't need to do that much to it. It is definitely my favorite mushroom to eat, pretty much just straight up. And you can do things where you develop the flavor of this mushroom, but it is fairly subtle. It's just when you have it simply is when it shines really specially, and that's that's a good reminder for me, because usually when I cook I'm like, oh, I have to keep adding more and more stuff. I have to make this more and more complicated. And Velosa is just like one of those things in life that's better when you keep it simple, which again is a good life lesson in a lot of ways. So, okay. So importantly, there's no oil in this pan. I put these all in dry. This is what I call a dry saute. I wash these mushrooms pretty thoroughly. And Velosas, depending on the amount of rain, tend to be pretty wet. And so as this mushroom gets a little bit of heat on it, it's going to start to bleed some moisture, especially the caps here. And I put a little bit of salt on to help kind of hasten that process. I usually, when I'm cooking mushrooms, I'll salt them 3, if not 4 times. One time when they first go in a pan, another time as they're just sort of starting to stick, and then like a 3rd or 4th time as I'm finishing them. I usually am going to put them in this dry saute to try to get the water out. And you can see down here, we're starting to get some water sizzle. And I'm not worried about crowding the pan. That old adage of don't crowd the pan with mushrooms is totally useless. What you want to do is dry saute them, get all the water out, then you can add some fat. But don't think about adding your fat until you've actually cooked that water out, because otherwise you're going to have a wet, insipid mushroom. I'm trying to get you guys a little bit closer here so you can see it from above. There we go. Like this. I'm going to play with angles in my kitchen, so I have like lights in odd positions that cast shadows every time I set a shot up. So I'm trying to keep your view unobscured. I mean, you guys can give me money. I have a Patreon. I don't talk about it much, but I do have a Patreon. And if you'd like to support my cooking or support me in making more great mushroom content, you could subscribe. That would be really cool. Okay. Someone's asking me what are the holes in the mushroom. Well, you don't want to know. How about that? Just ignore those holes in the mushroom. You didn't see them. It's all going to be fine in the end. I'm not at a place where I'd like anyone else to be my co-host right now, so you don't need to ask that question. We're just cooking up some Amanita Velosa here. And they're pretty nice and soupy right now, which is totally fine. I've got a lot of mushrooms in the pan. There's a lot of moisture bleeding out right now, especially from caps as they start to heat up. They carry a lot of moisture. And Velosa is one of the best textured mushrooms that I've ever had. And so they can cook down for a long time and maintain this really nice meaty texture. Cooking them a lot, unlike meat, does not compromise the texture. And that's generally true of most mushrooms. You can cook the crap out of most mushrooms and they won't lose anything. And you definitely don't want to eat a rare mushroom. There's a lot of mushrooms that if you don't cook them thoroughly can make you quite ill. And those are common edible mushrooms, one like a morel. Morels make people sick every year because they think that they just need to flash them in a pan. They want to look fancy like Gordon Ramsay, and then they eat undercooked morels and they get sick. So don't do it. You know, I'm cooking these well. I did the dry sautés. They went in without any oil or butter, and they're getting all wet and goozy. And I'm going to wait until they just barely start sticking to the pan, and then I'll hit them with some neutral oil, a little bit more salt, and I'm just going to keep cooking them sort of, you know, medium-low heat until they get really nice, sweet and brown and nutty and delicious, and then we'll eat some. Yes, I picked these. I picked these today. Went out for a quick hour jaunt, dodging rainstorms, and found some Amanita Velosa. So people are always asking me what my favorite edible mushroom is, and this is it. You're looking at it. Yes, I'm on West Coast time. It's still fairly late here, and you know, usually when I do the TikTok mushroom cooking, I'm doing it at like 2 in the morning. Which is funny. I get a lot of people from like Finland and Thailand, and like I get an incredible international audience with this mushroom stuff. It really is fun to see, you know, all the people from around the world who get turned on by various aspects of the mushroom content that I post. No, there's no olives in here. That's just the stems of the mushroom. There's caps and stems. I was going to separate them, but I didn't want to have to deal with, you know, cooking 2 different pans worth of stuff. So I just did it all in one pan. And they both taste really good. So they're just different textures. Yes, please subscribe on YouTube. That would be great. You know, creators... You can help creators in a lot of different ways. It doesn't always have to be monetary. And if you have money and you want to subscribe to a Patreon or something like that, that'd be awesome. If you want to just do a one-time donation or something like that, you can just buy a T-shirt on my website. That would be awesome. Then you get something back, or you can just Venmo me at Fascinated by Fungi. You know, if you Venmo me $12, I'll offer to send you a set of stickers, which is, you know, I sell stickers, and I just ordered another batch of stickers the other day. It was like pretty expensive. It's like $350 worth of stickers. So I'm hoping somebody will buy some stickers so I can recoup a little bit of my investment. But you know, mostly I just want to get them to give away to people. Oops, don't turn that part on. Oh boy. But yeah, you can support creators by just, you know, liking our content, sending a video you like to a friend. You can make sure to follow me on YouTube. You can check me out on the, you know, different social media platforms. I have a Facebook, I have a Twitter, I have a Snapchat, I have Pinterest. I'm trying to be accessible on all platforms. I don't update all of them regularly because it's just like too much to keep track of. But yeah, I try to put up at least 1 or 2 things a week, and I'm trying to spread out my content between different platforms so people are seeing different things in different places. And you know, just trying to climb those Google rankings and trying to get to a point where like eventually, you know, Instagram will verify me because I'm getting my identity stolen at least once or twice a day by like scammer drug accounts. So if you see accounts out there that have my face and they're like offering to sell you magic mushrooms, that's a scammer. That's not me. I will never try to sell you drugs on the internet, you know? What part tastes the best? I think the caps taste the best. They have a little bit more of that like sweet nutty hay flavor. The stems are a little more textural. They taste a little bit like calamari, or like kind of have that slightly bouncy, chewy seafood thing going on. But they all taste really good. I mean, quite honestly, it's great. Yeah, scammer drug accounts are super not fun. I have not been enjoying that aspect of social media, especially because they were taking like private photos of my partner and I. And not private, I mean I put them on Instagram, but like they were photos of my partner and I like going mushroom hunting, and it was like celebrating, you know, some landmark that we'd gotten on this account, and then I was like, oh great, that's the one that they're using as like a picture of my partner, and I was like, I really am uncomfortable that my image is being used to sell illegal drugs on the internet, but I'm even more uncomfortable when I see that my partner's image is being used. I was like, that's super, super not cool. So these scammers have no morals, no scruples. I don't like them. Okay, so these are just starting to stick. You can see there's no more visible water, and as I kind of do this, there's some that are sticking to the bottom. So I'm going to go in here with a little bit of neutral oil. This is just like, it says sunflower oil. It's probably canola. I just refilled this bottle. I like using peanut oil a lot of the time, really highly refined peanut oil. And I don't need a ton of oil here. These Amanita Velosa, some mushrooms will suck up fat. These Velosa don't need that much oil to just keep them from sticking. I just want them lubricated. And once the fat's on them, I can take these mushrooms. And what you can do is, later on when I post this live, you can see how pale they are now. And I'm just going to sit here and I'm going to gently saute them over sort of medium heat or medium-low heat and develop the browning on these guys. And they're going to get so sweet and nutty and delicious. It's insane. Okay, do we have some problematic people in the chat here? Let's do that. Yeah, sorry, one of the things that happens when you go live is you get trolls. You get a lot of trolls, which is, again, what was my problem with TikTok. I enjoy going live on TikTok, and sometimes I get some really good questions, and sometimes I get people being a-holes. Amelia, I am cooking Amanita Velosa. It is an edible Amanita that I found here in Napa. It's a really delicious edible mushroom. This is probably my favorite edible mushroom, which is something I get asked a lot. And I'm usually hesitant to tell people this mushroom because it does have toxic lookalikes, and you can make a mistake if you don't know what you're doing. So I don't necessarily recommend that other people go out and try to forage this mushroom, but I think it is probably my favorite tasting mushroom. I think it's really, really beautiful. In years past, I've written poems to it. I really do enjoy this mushroom. If you want to learn about it, you can scroll back. In my IGTV, I have a video of me talking about Amanita Velosa, and if you also scroll back to like last year, I did a post on Velosa, and the year before that, I did a post on Velosa. So I have eaten Amanita muscaria before. I don't like it anywhere near as much as Velosa. It's not as sweet. It's more grassy, and you do need to boil it twice. So there's extra cooking steps before you can kind of brown it off. But Velosa and Amanita muscaria have very similar textures. Amanitas in general have a really good texture that holds up to cooking quite well. Some mushrooms do get a little soggy or sort of cooked down too much if you cook them really hard. But these guys will just keep getting more and more brown and more delicious and sweet. So that's why I like Velosa so much. I do not take out groups. I will occasionally do an educational foray as a fundraiser for Soma, especially in the age of COVID. I don't do mushroom forays for people. Private mushroom forays are not a thing you can hire me for in general. So, just so people know that. Sure. Anyone who wants a bite of this is welcome to have one, as long as I give you the disclaimer that there are toxic lookalikes for this mushroom. I mean, if I got it wrong, you would die if you ate this. I'm pretty confident that I didn't get it wrong, so I would serve this to you with confidence, but I always give people that disclaimer before they eat it, so that, people got to know the risks. And I think the risks are pretty minimal because I'm here to teach you, but there's nothing you do in life without some risk, and life is just about understanding and mitigating that risk, but sometimes taking that risk too. This mushroom really freaked me out the first couple times I ate it, and every year when I take my first bite, I'm like, oh man, am I gonna die? And then I'm like, oh man, this is the tastiest mushroom I've ever eaten, and I'm really happy I'm eating it. So I haven't had a close call with lookalikes, but I've definitely misidentified mushrooms, and then later on been like, oh, that's not what I thought it was. And there's a pretty good saying, and just pretty good philosophy in general, which is, if you have any doubt, just throw it out.
certainly you don't want to eat something that might be poisonous. So like I said, yeah, if you have any doubts or you're just unsure, like nothing says you have to eat anything you found. I certainly do encourage people that if you're going to take mushrooms home, at least have it be ones you think you're going to eat or you'd want to eat. Don't just take home stuff from the woods that you want to just... I mean, it's okay to like take home one or two that you want to take home and like play with for ID purposes or take a sport plan or something like that, but like don't take a ton of mushrooms out of the woods if you're not going to eat them. That's just wasteful and it's like impacting the environment. Ethics of foraging kind of stuff. Yes, Sage, I am definitely a nerd. That is true. I picked these in Napa. Someone's asking how do I know so much about mushrooms? I don't know, I just started Googling them and learning about them. As Sage said, I'm a nerd. It was kind of after grad school when I finally had a little bit of time to concentrate on something other than my dissertation and the papers, which I guess I'm still writing papers, so you're never really free from writing papers. But yeah, I was stuck in New Zealand and I didn't know what to do with my day because my partner was working like 14-hour days and she was just not around. So I started going for mushroom hikes and I started finding mushrooms and I had hundreds of mushroom photos on my phone and didn't know what to do with them. So I started posting them on Instagram. And that turned into Fascinated by Fungi. I started this just to teach myself, and now I'm teaching you guys. So, what we have in the pan here is Amanita Velosa. It is a delicious, edible, mycorrhizal mushroom. And right now I cooked out all the water and a little bit of oil and a little bit of salt. And I am just browning these, trying to get a nice even brown on all the pieces, because that will develop this sort of real beautiful nutty sweetness that makes Velosa my favorite edible mushroom. Oh, hi, Tiger Paw. So, to the people who are requesting to join my live broadcast, I don't want anyone on my live broadcast, so, that's okay. I appreciate your energy, but this is just, I think, of me cooking mushrooms, so I don't need your input right now. Thank you. Okay, so they're starting to get pretty nice and brown. I know from experience, though, that I can just keep going and they'll just get better and better. But I might consider adding a little bit of butter here, just to kind of knock up the flavor quotient just a bit. So let me leave these here, and I'll be right back. Do some stuff. Okay, we're back. We're going to go with a little bit of this butter and some thyme. Really get right in there. Get that butter and thyme all spread around. Oh, there we go. Now you start seeing that deep golden brown. Those butter solids start to crisp up and caramelize here in the pan. Oh, yeah. That's what's up. Mushrooms that I recommend for beginners. I gotta change my username. I assume you mean to grow or do you mean to hunt? Because anywhere you can grow mushrooms inside. You can do oyster mushrooms and lion's mane, piapini, king trumpets, all sorts of good stuff. You can order mushroom kits from Nearby Naturals and North Spore. I have a discount code with both those companies. It's just Fascinated by Fungi, and you can save 10% on your orders. So that's a great way to grow mushrooms at home. North Spore also sells spawn, so if you want to try to grow mushrooms in your yard, you can do that. I bet that Amanita Velosa would probably go pretty well with a glass of scotch. I wouldn't choose a really phenolic, peaty scotch. I'd probably choose a little bit rounder scotch, a little bit more like a whiskey. Like an Irish whiskey. I mean, maybe a blended Irish whiskey actually instead of scotch. But I just don't love scotch that much, so I'm the wrong person to ask. The peaty phenol thing is too much for me. My mom loves Lefroy. Holy crap. That like 15-year Lefroy, that stuff's like paint thinner. She loves it. I can't handle it. I just ordered some wine cap King Strophareus spawn from North Spore too. I'm going to use it to help build up my garden bed. So I'm going to put in a little bit of cream sherry here. Just a bit here. So I'm getting ready for the fireworks. Oh, yes. Butter, sherry, thyme, and of course, some flaky salt. Oh, it's criminal how good this mushroom is. It is so good. How long does it take to grow mushrooms from ground to table? Well, again, it really depends on what kind you're growing and what substrate you're growing on, whether or not you have grain spawn. I mean, you can order a mushroom kit and probably have mushrooms on your table in like a week or two. But mushroom kits, all the work's been done for you. Otherwise, it can take anywhere from like 1 month to like 6 months or 2 years or more. So, So this is not Amanita muscaria. This is Amanita velosa, which does not require a boiling step. This is a really good edible mushroom that you can just cut straight up and cook. You don't need to do any special treatment. Yes, thank you. Legatois is the man. Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to cut the heat. I think we're pretty much about as brown as I want to be. Really nice and golden before I get to that burnt spectrum. And I'm going to go in, take a taste of this incredible mushroom. You guys ready for it? You want to see me eat this piece? Alright. Pick that up. Oh man. Yeah, the cap is so sweet. Oh, it's hard to describe this mushroom in any really kind of intelligent way. Because all I want to do is go, God damn, that's good. Oh, yummy. Yeah, all those little brown bits, they slap. They slap hard. So much umami. Or slap your grandmother. Mmm. Yummy. I'll just put a touch more of this flaky salt on. Emphasize the tiny bit of butter and thyme we put in here. I didn't put very much in, and I didn't put a garlic clove or shallots or anything else in, because I find they sort of overwhelm the natural sweetness of just the mushroom on its own. So I like to cook these very simply and let them shine. And I don't feel that way about most mushrooms. Most mushrooms I'm happy to doctor them up, but this one in particular, just you got to try it straight. And the stems have a very different flavor than the caps. The stems are nowhere near as sweet. They're more textural. They remind me a little bit of like calamari rings, but like way better. Yum, yum, yum. Yum, yum, yum. Okay. Well, I'm not going to sit here while you guys watch me eat this entire thing. So, there's your last look at this gorgeous Amanita. I'll bring you up here. Say hi. So, hello, I'm Gordon, Fascinated by Fungi. If you want to learn more from me, you can check out my website, fascinatedbyfungi.com. I have cool t-shirts and original designs on there. You can read my FAQ section, where I offer a lot of common answers to some of the mushroom questions you guys might have brought up during this broadcast that I didn't answer. I am on all of the forms of social media that I can think of: Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, TikTok, Twitter, Snapchat, Pinterest, you name it. I probably have an account on there. Twitch. What else do I want to say? Oh, I have a Patreon. If you want to ask me questions about cooking, or just help support me in making more cool mushroom content, please subscribe to my Patreon. You can see a link on my website, or just go to Patreon, search Fascinated by Fungi. I appreciate all you guys. You're great. Thank you so much for the feedback. Thanks for joining me. So, bye guys.